Hello and welcome to Kingdom Come Deliverance. This game is a game that I've been wanting to play for a long time, but unfortunately things didn't line up the way I wanted to in the past, and now I'm able to play it. So I'm going to be doing a retrospective on the game for the channel, covering all of the things that I like about it, a little of the bits that I dislike, and also I just wanted to say a special thank you to Army Noodles for grabbing it for me so that I could experience it for myself. With that being said, I'm going to let the cinematic finish, and then we're going to jump right into the meat and bones of this game.
God bless.
Same to you.
Today's a scorcher.
Well, husband, how goes it?
Good. I should get it finished today. Where on earth is Henry? I need him to run some errands.
He was still sleeping when I went out.
At this hour? Blue-blooded idler.
Well, it looks like he was out all evening, drinking like a lord.
Go and get the lazy bones up then. Quick clout round the ear should do it.
Mm-hmm. Henry! Get up now. There's work to be done.
Mother! Get up or I'll come get you up, you slugabed.
Hear that? You'd better not vex him. Now get up quick. Your breakfast is on the table. Wait, what's this? Have you been... Oh, Henry. How many times have I told you about fighting?
Oh, it's nothing. It's just a scratch.
You've been at that sword play again, haven't you? You'd better pray your father doesn't get to hear of it. You know how he feels about it.
Oh, don't worry, it wasn't that. I just scratched myself is all.
Well, just don't come crying to me if you really do get hurt. Now get up, you rogue.
So very quickly we are thrust into the shoes of our main protagonist, Henry, our blacksmith's son of Silver Skeleton, a real-world location now in the current Czechoslovakia but in Bohemia historically. All of this game revolves around a historical setting and obviously a deep historical background. There is a ton to learn. If there's anything you want to know, you can look it up in the codex, and the codex is very well put together. That is probably one of my favorite things to do, is to sit here and learn about this game's world. I'll often spend plenty of time just looking at the backgrounds, looking at the little houses and what people have inside them, trying to guess what their job is, what their potential path is to work and how they get to work. Because everyone in this game has a life, just like you, the blacksmith's son. You've been something of a nuisance to the town for quite a while now, and now it's your chance to actually become a real man or not. And that's where the game's freedom comes in. I'm not quite sure. I believe you can play quite the rogue if you choose, but it will give you a bad ending. The main ending that I've gone for is the most noble and true to this character that I could. Obviously, if you've played this game, you know what happens to Silver Scallots, and if you don't know history, unfortunately for Silver Scallots, it burns down, and it is sacked by the Cumans, who have been led by Sigismund, the brother of Wenceslaus, in an attempt to basically secure any region, or in this case, financial stability, to proclaim his rule over this area of Bohemia, as well as the Holy Roman Empire as a whole. With that little history lesson aside, all of the things that make this game great are there. The immersion, the depth, the interaction with characters. You get into fights with people, you can often grab things from them, you can steal from them, you could often help them out. You could choose to be quite the noble person if you want, and I often tell people to take a note at the terms noble, poor, rich, etc., as the words do have a deeper connotation, especially to this time period. So when something is noble, it's often seen as a good thing. In this sense, we want to be good people to all of the peasants and all of the plebs in this land, as we don't want to be one of them anymore. We are too good for that. And my main goal, as I've been playing so far, over 20 hours, is to become actually adept at sword fighting and becoming a knight. I've become a guard and so forth. In the game, it just gets deeper and deeper. But to start, we have to survive the Battle of Skalitz, or rather the Massacre of Skalitz, by running to the nearest town under heavy attack from behind, as the Cumans chase us down all the way there, and we are lucky enough to actually get a horse. But on our way, we'll actually pass a notable character, Theresa, who we had given some nails earlier, who is actually a DLC character and friend of yours that you'll see much later on. And the friendships and the bonds and all of these connections that form are really something. It's what makes Kingdom Come probably one of my favorite games ever. Just to be able to see all of these people develop and change as characters, experience real-world tragedy and all kinds of terrible things. As you saw in the background there, our character's father, Henry, was slaughtered by the Cumans, and he had to basically watch and hope that he could get past them and save his father, but of course, that is not going to happen. This particular moment in the game is probably my favorite moment overall, because you are now tasked with running away with an arrow in your leg and you're bleeding to death, and you've never ridden a horse before, and as you're running you can see all of these desperate souls running. And it's interesting to note that the Cumans are actually just after you so that you don't spread any messages to the next lord nearby, so that no help comes to save these people at all. That's their initial goal. They're not attacking the other people as you go past them simply because of that, or at least that's what I was determining. And it feels so unnerving to just be chased down by a bunch of guys speaking a foreign language, and you know that they aren't from here, but you don't really know where they're from. And it's just one of the most heartbreaking moments ever to see Theresa just being held up there, and you have to run past her as you are about to get killed yourself. Finally, after racing for what seems like forever on your horse and barely making it before you bleed out, you meet the garrison of another castle, the Lord Havish, who is a real historical figure, by the way. And many of these details may be skewed just for the game's sake, but many of the historical figures are accurate, and their castles and all of their lordships. Everyone is pretty accurate when it comes to the higher-ups because they had some historical record of them. Most of that stuff has been lost to history, but these things we do have. So, upon meeting these lords, I was immediately enamored in the way they behaved. They were very much different than they're depicted in Hollywood, where a lot of people depict them as stupid idiots who are constantly chewing on a side of mutton. but in reality they were wise politicians who actually fought in battles and kept their lands pretty well in check. And in this case, Lord Havish will actually come in clutch later on, and we will see just what he does.
And a little wine to wash it down.
Thank you, my lady.
It is I, Henry. Forgive the intrusion. I didn't wake you, boy, did I?
My lady.
Another thing that helps cement the legacy of this game is that everything is historically accurate, and that is including all of the lords and the ladies actively acting as they should. You're not a lord, you are not someone of nobility, you are not able to talk to them as they talk to you, and they can do as they please pretty much without repercussion. Obviously they can't just abuse their subjects with no reprise, but for the most part they tend to be good toward their subjects, and in some cases, obviously later down the line, we will see some lords who are not. One other thing I wanted to comment on is the fact that the character actually experiences trauma in a natural and very realistic way. Nightmares, he starts to become very shut off from public and not tell other people how he feels, where prior he was quite the jokester. Now Henry is pretty stoic and laid back. He is more hesitant and a little easier to aggression. If you notice, he has a lot more problems than he did before, but he is very good at hiding them, and that is something that the devs do very well, is hiding this real world PTSD that Henry's experiencing as he saw his real world friends and family and even his sweetheart die before his eyes.
Wake up. You don't want to miss this. What's happening? Come to the battlements. One of our patrols reported a company heading in from Scouts.
For my character's father so that he gets the proper story, and it all harpers back to a lot of great game development, especially Red Dead Redemption 2, where you feel like you're Arthur Morgan. You really do feel like you're Henry in this case, and I think it helps a lot that Henry doesn't have a last name, or at least not a last name that's mentioned, not that I've noticed. He is simply Henry, and you go about as Henry, and you feel like you are in his shoes. And something that pushed me off initially was that I was scared to be a character. I wanted to choose my character and make him, but in reality it fits better to be an RPG, fit on this character's path, and get to divert how you choose and how you feel. And in this case we actually get to see a little bit of what speech can do, as Lord Havish is so powerful with his speech. He's able to actually deflect an upcoming battle by saying he doesn't support the guy that basically just lost his kingdom, or his small little fief. And with a simple gesture of the hand, you feel so much energy and so much power, so much tension relieved. And it's just an amazing moment in the story here to see him call off that human horde as you feel like you're about to be in another bloodbath. And finally, Henry has the chance to leave and go and potentially save his parents' soul and bury them. In his mind, he's deeply religious, and for them, they need to bury their parents, and especially friends and family, and anyone they can, so that their body is met in the afterlife by Jesus Christ, or something along those lines. I'm not a very religious person, but that is how Henry and many of the other characters believe the world to be. And there's a priest later on who even mentions that because he buries them in unconsecrated ground, that their souls might not reach heaven, and the Lord of the land simply mocks him. And this was actually earlier on. He still has the goal though, and he charges forth anyways and steals a couple pairs of armor and a shield so that he can get past the guard. And we make our way all the way to the town of Skalitz. only to find everything in ruins. After returning to Skalitz, you find your mother and your father, as well as your sweetheart, Bianca, laying in the town square, dead, and you've determined that you'd at least like to bury your parents, so you go and search for a shovel. Upon searching, you find a no-too-do-good guy here, but later on it'll be revealed that this is actually Theresa's family member, someone who had thrown Theresa, your friend, later on, to the Cumans, and that is why you see her with those 3 Cumans earlier on. Here you get into a brawl with him if you choose, and you actually will get the shovel back, and that mutt, that is your future companion dog, right there protecting the butcher. After returning with the shovel to your family home and digging the graves for your family, Henry finds that he no longer has the strength to actually go through with it, and is left in a dilemma of actually really burying his family and moving on. And it's at this moment, at his weakest moment, we see Henry confronted with 5 enemies, more than he's ever seen, more than he's ever had to face in his life, and these guys mean business, and they want to take the last memory of Henry's father from him, and he decides to fight. And it's in this moment that you meet Theresa, who finally comes out of nowhere and saves the day, and her story intermingles with his in an interesting and very unique way, as she had escaped the 3 Cuman soldiers who had attacked her and actually saved quite some few people in the town from the Cumans afterwards. And this is part of a DLC quest much later on. And it's at this moment I realized just how much of a game I really had on my hands. I had thought that I had started the game when the introduction started and I was practicing swords with the fencing master in the sheep pasture, but in reality, no, I had not even started a small fraction of the game. And that's what I love about this game, and what I plan to keep playing for is just the depth and what comes next. What comes next is always on my mind, and I cannot wait to reach the end of this game so that I can finish the retrospective, as this is going to be the first part of many different parts of retrospectives, because Kingdom Come Deliverance is not a simple game that I can just cover in one single video. I'd like to cover it over a couple different videos, and I'll break them down depending on the introduction of the game, middle point where I'm at, and then the late game and end game when I get there. So I hope you all enjoyed this short little video, something a little different to my channel, a little bit more edited. And be sure to leave a like, as it helps me out immensely, and it leads to other people seeing videos that they might like, and so on and so forth. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.